Good evening, Mrs. Webb.
Well, good evening, Mr. Johnson. How are you?
Just fine. I understand you're following the 19th Amendment that was passed in Congress.
Yes, yesterday was a great day for suffrage. We passed the amendment was passed, and every woman in the United States now has the right to vote. You know, of course, that the women in California were given the right to vote in 1911, and we have pushed very, very hard all across this country of ours to see that every woman had that same right, and it appears now that we have finally achieved our goal.
Well, the Congress finally passed the 19th Amendment. We're just waiting for 3/4 of the state's legislature to agree on it.
Well, I understand that yesterday in Tennessee, the vote was almost defeated, but for the courage of one young man who stood up, changed his vote, and cast the deciding vote for the ratification of the 19th Amendment. And I do understand that it was on the request of his mother, who had written him a letter, so had asked him to do the right thing and please vote yes.
And that man was only 22 years old.
And his name was Harry T. Burns.
Are you going to the dance at the Miners Union Hall? I'm planning to. Well, do you know the Charleston? No. Well, I'll teach it to you because I'm not going. Okay. All right, ready? Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now add the hands. Add a little twist. Add a little kick. You got it! Woo! Tonight's gonna be fun.
Hello everyone, my name is Jim Kane. Most of you probably know who I am. Yes, this is my house, the one with the glassed-in front porch. I was born in Quebec province, but came west as a young man. I ended up in Carson City, at first working in a lumber yard. Shortly afterwards, I went to Virginia City and eventually ended up as a foreman on the V&C Railroad. I met and married Delilah, Lyle, as I used to like to call her, and we headed to the boomtown of Bodie. My life was forever changed arriving in this remote town. I was at first hired by the Porter Company to deliver firewood and lumber here to Bodie. Wow, there was a need for firewood. There were over 20 hoisting works with steam engines and 9 mills of various sizes. The town needed wood for heating their homes and businesses also. We first put a barge called the Rocket on Mono Lake to shuttle wood coming over from the Mono Mills lumberyard on the far side of Mono Lake. The demand was just too much for that little barge. I was actually one of several investors to build a rail line to bring that wood and lumber here into town. That narrow gauge line could deliver 100,000 cords of wood a season. A partner and I leased a plot of land up on Bunker Hill. We were lucky. We were very lucky as we struck a previously unknown ledge of some very rich ore, and we removed $90,000 in just 90 days. Needless to say, the lease was not renewed. That lease, though, gave me my foothold here in town, my grub stake, so to speak. The mining boom, however, didn't last long in this town, only about 4 years total. Oh, there's still mining going on here. The Standard Consolidated Mine, the one up on Bunker Hill, now called Standard Hill, is still in operation. I lease it out to lessees and take my cut off the top of whatever they produce. They also have to pay me to crush their ore, as I have only I have the only current operational mill here in town. There was a resurgence of sorts back in the 90s when the cyaniding process was brought here into town. With partners, I purchased much of the tailings that had gathered over the decades. Tailings are the waste product from crushing ore in the stamp mills. They still contain some fine particles of gold in them. Until there was a technology to extract that gold, these acres and acres of thousands of tons of tailings were scattered all over the place, corralled in what we used to call tailings ponds. Well, that technology showed up in the form of cyaniding. I invested heavily in cyanide mills to rework the tailings, and we recovered a lot of gold. The tailings have been pretty much all been reworked now, so Bodie has now settled into more of a sleepy little town more than an active mining town. My business interests are not all mining activities, however. In my earlier years, I could handle a bullwhip pretty good and did a lot of freighting. Many years later, I bought a bank and am still operating it today. I also invested in water rights throughout the region, where we dammed up creeks to provide a source of power for generating electricity. The Standard Mill that I referred to earlier, which I acquired through a legal arrangement, made history a few years back. It was the first industrial building in this whole country to be supplied with electrical power from a power plant 13 miles away over on Green Creek near Bridgeport. I also love racehorses and betting on some of them also. Along with others, we started a racing association here in Bodie and have a nice oval track south of town in Booker Flats over yonder. My favorite horse is a trotter I named Bodie Bird. I've made a lot of money with that horse. The Bodie Mutts baseball team have their field right smack dab in the middle of the track infield. As different mining claims were abandoned, I acquired them for very little. I own about 3/4 of the Bodie mining district from the top of Standard Hill south all the way out to Queen Bee Hill. Warren Luce and Partners still operate some claims on the north side of Bodie Bluff. As different real estate throughout town was abandoned, I picked those up for little or nothing. You can pretty much say I own most of the town and the mining rights. I'm not bragging though, mind you. I love this town and it's been very good to me over the years. I want to do what I can to help preserve this cold, windy, dusty old place I call home. While there are now only a few hundred folks living in town, I am holding out for a better future. There is a large section of a very rich Fortuna ledge that hasn't been discovered yet. It faulted inside the hill and no one has been able to find that remaining section. Maybe someday. Lyle's health is starting to decline and I think it best she go to San Francisco with family. She needs to get out of this altitude and the cold winters. I'll stay here a bit longer. I just really believe Bodie will boom again. I'm considering an idea about hiring caretakers to look over my holdings and see what the future holds. In the meantime, I just want to try and protect what's been a part of me for so long, a part of mining and a part of California history. It's probably one of the last old-time mining camps we'll ever see. Good night, and long live Bodie. Since its formation in 2008, the Bodhi Foundation has provided tens of thousands of dollars to state parks. Funds are primarily used on stabilization projects of many structures throughout town. Things like foundation repairs, replacing broken windows, re-roofing structures, new water systems, new water plant are just a few examples. The foundation also helped fund several repairs from the 2016 earthquake damages we had here. Would you please consider a donation to the Bodhi Foundation today? You can see what we've accomplished and donate right on our website, www.bodhifoundation.org. We're protecting Bodhi's future by preserving its past. Thank you very much for your continued support, and good night.